He doesn't recognize me. Your eyes empty, as if I were a ghost. They say that this house has memory, but its memories are stealing mine. A pact has been sealed, blood has been shed, and now darkness is awakening. I need you to believe me. If we don't do it together, it will be lost forever. The mirror whispers promises, power, knowledge, but the price is your soul. The truth is a mirage. Nothing is as it seems. Be prepared to question everything. A shattered mind, a crumbling love, a battle that will define the fate of us all. He made a choice. But what was the price, and what did he become? Don't miss this episode, and if you fell here by parachute, watch the other episodes of this insane series so you don't get out of context of what's happening. And if you like it, leave your like, comment what you think of the series, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any episode that is to come from this and other series. His face marked by sleepless nights, his red eyes bathed in an almost desperate determination. She holds a yellowed photograph, the image shaking in her hands as she brings it closer to Miguel's face. In the photo, a couple smiles, radiating genuine happiness. She and Miguel, or at least the man she desperately wants to become Miguel again. "Remember?" she whispers, her voice choked with emotion. "Remember that day? It was on the beach, our first year together. You built a giant sandcastle and wrote, 'Beatriz and Miguel forever.'" Miguel stares at her with a blank stare, a mixture of confusion and dread dancing in her irises. There is no recognition, no spark of memory, just the shadow of a stranger. I don't know what you're talking about," he mutters, instinctively recoiling. "These memories, they are not mine. Stop trying to get these things into my head." The mansion watches, imposing and sinister. The walls whisper secrets. The wood creaks as if it were alive. A cold breeze runs through the room, chilling Beatrice's skin. The candlelight flickers, casting dancing shadows that distort faces, turning love into a threat. Beatrice ignores her fear, focusing on Miguel. She needs to achieve it, to break the barrier that separates her from her own history. She grabs his hand, her skin cold and hesitant. "Miguel, please look at me. It's me, Beatriz, your Beatrice. We've been through so much together. We've built a life together. You can't just forget everything." He struggles, trying to free himself from her touch. "I don't know you. You are an obsession, a hallucination. I need to get out of here. I need to escape from you." Suddenly, the room plunges into darkness. A high-pitched scream echoes through the corridors. Beatrice staggers, disoriented. When the light returns, Miguel is elsewhere in the room, cornered in a corner, his eyes fixed on an invisible spot. "They're coming," he whispers, his voice charged with terror. "They want to get me. They want to use me." Beatrice tries to get closer, but Miguel cringes, as if he is being attacked by something invisible. He begins to have convulsions, his body shaking violently. Flashbacks erupt in Miguel's mind, fragments of a life he can't recognize. He sees himself dancing with Beatrice under the moonlight, laughing at a picnic in the park, whispering promises of eternal love in a cozy room. But those memories are corrupted by disturbing visions, shadows creeping across walls, faces distorted into silent screams, a black mirror reflecting emptiness. The mansion feeds on Miguel's confusion, manipulating his perceptions, distorting reality. Beatrice's love becomes a trap, hope turns into despair. In a moment of lucidity, Miguel looks at Beatrice with a flash of recognition in his eyes. "Run away," he pleads. "Run away while you still can. This house, it will destroy you." But Beatrice refuses to give up. She approaches Miguel, ignoring the danger, willing to fight tooth and nail to rescue the man she loves. "I won't leave you," she declares, her voice firm and decisive. "I'll bring you back, Miguel, whatever the cost." The scene ends with a close-up of Beatrice's face, the determination in her eyes contrasting with the terror that surrounds her. The fight for Miguel's memory is just the beginning of a much larger battle. a battle against dark forces that threaten to consume everything she loves. Imagine yourself losing the memory of the one you love the most, the anguish, the despair. Would you do anything to bring him back, even facing your worst fears? The dust dances lazily in the rays of sunlight that invade the abandoned library. Beatrice, guided by a feverish intuition, rummages through the dusty bookshelves, her fingers gliding over faded spines. The air smells of mold and buried secrets. She feels that the key to Miguel's sanity is hidden there, trapped between the yellowed pages of the past. Finally, his fingers find something different, a volume bound in dark leather with no visible title. The book is hidden behind others, deliberately hidden from view. Beatrice's heart races. She knows she has found something important. Carefully she opens the book. It is a diary, handwritten in an elegant, cursive handwriting. The date on the first page indicates that it was written more than a century ago by an ancestor of Michael's named Elijah. The first pages describe life in the mansion, family rituals, the prosperity of the bloodline. But as Beatrice progresses in the reading, a dark tone begins to permeate the words. Elias reveals a terrible secret. The family's wealth and power were obtained through a pact with an evil entity linked to the mansion's ancestral mirror. The pact requires a periodic sacrifice. In each generation, a family member must volunteer to keep the entity in check, to quench its thirst for blood and power. Otherwise, the entity will break free, plunging the mansion and the world into unspeakable chaos. Beatrice feels a chill run down her spine. She now understands the origin of the evil plaguing the mansion, the reason why Miguel is so disturbed. He is next in the line of sacrifice. While Beatrice reads, the temperature in the library drops dramatically. The shadows lengthen and contort, taking on grotesque shapes. She senses an eerie presence approaching, watching her with invisible eyes. Suddenly, the diary closes with a bang, frightening Beatrice. She looks around, but she's alone, or at least, apparently alone. At that moment, Miguel enters the library, wandering around like a ghost. His eyes are fixed on the ancestral mirror, which reflects his distorted and gloomy image. "I need to go there," he mutters, his voice mesmerized. "They are calling me. They need me." Beatrice rushes to stop him, but it is too late. Miguel touches the mirror and instantly his image merges with the reflection, disappearing into the black abyss. She approaches the mirror, hesitant. What she sees there paralyzes her with terror. The entity manifests in Michael's mind, presenting visions of power and glory. She tempts him to embrace the pact, to become one with her. "You're special, Miguel," the entity whispers, the voice echoing in his mind. "You are the chosen one. Together we can rule the world." Miguel struggles against the influence of the entity, but his mind is weak, his memory fragmented. He is vulnerable to the seduction of power. Beatrice panics. She needs to get Miguel out of the mirror. She needs to prevent him from surrendering to the entity. But how? She has no weapons, no knowledge, only the love she feels for him. Desperate, she screams Miguel's name, begging him to remember her so that he resists temptation. "Miguel, please listen to me. You don't have to do that. You're not alone. I'm here for you. Fight it, Miguel. Fight for our love." His voice echoes in the library, drowned out by the oppressive silence. The mirror continues to shine brightly, imprisoning Miguel in her icy embrace. In the diary, Beatrice finds a passage that may be the key to freeing Miguel. Elijah mentions an ancient ritual capable of weakening the entity and breaking the pact. But the ritual is dangerous, requiring a terrible sacrifice. Beatrice is faced with an impossible choice. Saving Miguel means risking everything, even his own life. But she can't just stand by and watch him get lost forever. She closes the diary, the renewed determination in her eyes. She will fight against the entity. She will break the pact. She will save Miguel. Come hell or high water. Imagine finding out that your family is cursed by an ancestral pact. Would you feel responsible for breaking this curse? How far would you go to protect those you love? The rain lashes the mansion, every drop a slap on the decaying facade. Inside, Beatriz, exhausted and desperate, tries to decipher the enigmatic passages in the diary. Each symbol, each phrase, seems to hide an obscure meaning, a crucial piece for the ritual of reversal. Suddenly, the sound of insistent knocking on the front door echoes through the house. Beatriz hesitates. Who could it be on a night like this? Could it be the entity in disguise, trying to deceive her? Cautiously, she approaches the door and opens it, revealing the soaking wet figure of a man. He wears a shabby overcoat, his soaked hat partially hiding his face, marked by scars and sleepless nights. "Madam," he begins, his voice hoarse and tired. "I'm Private Detective Ricardo Vargas. I was hired by Helena before what happened." Beatriz watches him suspiciously. Did Helena hire a detective? Why? What was she investigating? Ricardo notices Beatriz's hesitation and sighs. "I know it sounds suspicious, but I can help. Helena was after something big, something dangerous. She paid me to discover the secrets of the mansion, the secrets of Miguel's family." Beatriz is reluctant to trust him. She was betrayed so many times, deceived by appearances. But Ricardo seems genuine, exhausted and desperate like her. In addition, she needs help. "What do you know?" she asks, her voice strained. Ricardo enters the mansion, shaking the water off his overcoat. "I know that this house is much more than it seems. I know that Miguel's family made a pact with something evil, which feeds on the energy of the mansion." He explains that Helena was investigating the family's history, trying to find a way to break the pact. She had uncovered clues about the reversal ritual, but before she could act, something happened. "Helena was close to the truth," says Ricardo with a somber look, "but someone silenced her, and I think that someone is still around." Beatriz feels a chill. She realizes that Ricardo may be the key to unraveling the mysteries of the mansion, but he may also be an imminent danger. As they talk, a strange noise echoes through the hallway. A shadow moves rapidly, disappearing into the darkness. Ricardo pulls out a rusty revolver, his eyes fixed on the darkness. "We are not alone," he whispers. "This house is alive, and she doesn't want us to know the truth." From that moment on, Beatriz and Ricardo unite, forming an unlikely alliance. They explore the forgotten corners of the mansion, unraveling its dark secrets. Ricardo reveals that the evil entity manifests itself in different ways, manipulating perceptions and feeding fear. He warns Beatriz not to trust anything she sees or hears inside the house. As they investigate, Ricardo begins to be plagued by disturbing visions, ghosts from the past, threatening whispers, objects that move on their own. The mansion is testing his sanity, trying to get him to give up. He tries to get away from Beatriz, believing that she is involved in something sinister. He questions her about her relationship with Miguel, about her intentions. "I don't trust you," he says with a suspicious look. "You know more than you're saying. What are you hiding?" Beatriz feels offended, but understands Ricardo's distrust. She knows that he is traumatized, that the mansion is affecting him. "I'm not hiding anything," she replies sincerely. "I just want to save Miguel. I love him, and I'm not going to give up on him." Beatriz's sincerity seems to convince Ricardo. He realizes that she is just as lost and desperate as he is. They need to rely on each other to survive. They continue the investigation, working together to decipher the clues left by Helena. But the mansion is becoming more and more dangerous, more hostile. In a moment of vulnerability, Ricardo reveals to Beatriz that he also lost someone he loved. His wife was murdered a few years ago, and he never got over the loss. "I understand what you're going through," he says, with a sad look. "The pain of loss, it never goes away." Beatriz feels a connection with Ricardo, a deep empathy. They are two strangers united by pain and determination. They get closer and closer, sharing their fears and their hopes. But the mansion is watching. waiting for the right moment to strike. At the end of the topic, Ricardo is attacked by an invisible force. He screams in pain, falling to the ground unconscious. Beatriz tries to help him, but is stopped by an invisible barrier. She realizes that the entity is testing her loyalty, forcing her to choose between saving Ricardo and saving Miguel. Would you trust a stranger to save the person you love? How far would you go to protect those who are by your side? The flickering light of a lamp illuminates Beatriz's pale face. Ricardo lies unconscious, trapped by an invisible force. She needs to make a decision, and fast. Save Ricardo or continue the search for Miguel. Guilt eats away at her, but she knows Miguel is the priority. Reluctantly, Beatriz leaves Ricardo behind and runs to Helena's office, the place where the detective spent hours researching the family's secrets. The place is in complete chaos. Books scattered, papers torn, the atmosphere charged with tension. While rummaging through the mess, Beatriz finds a file hidden behind a family portrait. Inside, there are photos, documents, and notes scribbled by Helena. As Beatriz examines the material, a shocking truth begins to emerge. Helena was not an innocent victim, but rather an active participant in the family pact. Helena knew of the existence of the entity, of the periodic sacrifice, of the curse that haunted Miguel's family. Worse still, she had benefited from the power granted by the pact, using it to achieve her own goals. Beatriz feels a mixture of anger and disappointment. She believed that Helena was an ally, a victim of the mansion, but now she discovers that Helena was part of the problem. Helena's notes reveal that she tried to break the pact, but her actions made her a vessel for the evil entity. It became a bridge between the world of the living and the world of the dead, allowing the entity to manifest more easily. Helena's release in the previous episode did not destroy the entity. It only freed her from the detective's control. Now the entity is free to roam the mansion, causing terror and destruction. Suddenly a voice whispers in Beatriz's ear, "You don't understand the truth." She turns and sees the specter of Helena floating in the air with an ambiguous gaze. At times, her face displays an expression of suffering, as if trapped in an eternal nightmare. At other times, her eyes glow with an evil intensity, as if possessed by the entity. "I tried to break the pact," says Helena, her voice weak and distorted. "But I failed. I became part of it, and now she wants you." Beatriz tries to move away, but Helena grabs her with cold, spectral hands. She feels an evil energy invading her body, trying to control her. "You need to help me," begs Helena, her voice full of despair. "You need to stop her from dominating Miguel. He is the key to everything." Helena reveals that Miguel possesses a latent power, an ability to resist the entity that no other member of the family has ever had. If he surrenders to the pact, the entity will become invincible. "You need to awaken Miguel's power," says Helena. "You need to remind him of the love you share. That love is the only thing that can save him." But suddenly, Helena's expression changes. His eyes turn red and bright. His voice turns into a guttural growl. "Don't listen to her," shouts Helena with the voice of the entity. "She's trying to fool you. I am the truth. I am the power. Join me, and we will rule the world together." Helena tries to attack Beatriz, but she defends herself, using a crucifix she found in the office. The crucifix burns Helena's spectral skin, causing her to recoil with a cry of pain. Beatriz flees the office, pursued by the specter of Helena. The mansion becomes a maze of gloomy corridors, doors that close by themselves, objects that move to stop her. In a moment of lucidity, Helena appears again, begging for help. "Please set me free," she pleads. "I don't want to be a monster. I want to rest in peace." But then the entity overwhelms her again, turning her into a horrifying creature. Beatriz realizes that Helena is trapped in a constant battle between her own soul and the entity's influence. She's a victim, but she's also a threat. The scene ends with Beatriz cornered in a corner, surrounded by the spectre of Helena, who alternates between moments of lucidity and possession. She needs to find a way to help Helena, but she also needs to protect herself from the entity. Beatriz's breath echoes frantically in the oppressive silence of the mansion's old chapel. The cold stone walls are stained with moss and moisture, and the air smells of old incense and dried blood. After escaping the spectre of Helena, she found refuge in this secluded place, guided by Helena's notes and Ricardo's information. In the center of the chapel, a solid stone altar serves as the focal point. Beatriz observes the intricate carvings, arcane symbols that seem to vibrate with an ancestral energy. She recognizes some of the symbols in the diary of Elias, the ancestor who made the pact with the entity. With her hands shaking, Beatriz opens the diary and begins to read the description of the reversal ritual. The words are complex and enigmatic, replete with references to celestial entities and elemental forces. She realizes that the ritual is much more dangerous than she imagined. The ritual requires a voluntary sacrifice by a family member who must be connected to the entity. That person must offer to be a vessel, absorbing the entity's evil energy and then destroying it with their own willpower. Beatriz realizes that Miguel is the only person who can perform the ritual. He is the last descendant of the lineage, the only one who has the necessary connection to the entity. But how to convince him to sacrifice, especially with his memory erased? She remembers Helena's words. Awaken the power of Michael. Remind him of the love you share. Love. That's the key. Beatriz needs to rekindle the flame of Miguel's memory, make him remember who he is, what he is capable of. While Beatriz prepares for the ritual, the entity begins to manifest itself in the chapel. Shadows dance on the walls, whispers fill the air, the temperature drops dramatically. She senses the evil presence approaching, testing her resolve. Suddenly, the doors of the chapel open with a bang, revealing Miguel. He is pale and trembling, his eyes empty and lifeless. He is like a puppet, controlled by the entity. "Don't do that!" says Miguel with the voice of the entity. "You can't beat me, I am invincible." Beatriz tries to get closer to Miguel, but he pulls away as if he is afraid of her. She sees the struggle in her eyes, the internal battle between her own will and the entity's influence. "Miguel, please listen to me," she begs. "You don't have to do that. You are stronger than you think. Remember who you are. Remember us." Beatriz begins to recite the ritual, using the words in the diary to invoke the celestial forces. The chapel begins to vibrate with intense energy. The candlelight flickers wildly. The entity attempts to disrupt the ritual by sending blasts of evil energy towards Beatriz. She protects herself with the crucifix, but feels the power of the entity slowly consuming her. Suddenly, Ricardo appears in the chapel, staggering and wounded. He managed to free himself from the invisible barrier and followed Beatriz there. "I'm here to help," says Ricardo, his voice weak. "Don't give up." Ricardo joins Beatriz in the ritual, using his own energy to strengthen the words and invocations. His presence gives Beatriz the strength she needs to continue. The entity becomes enraged and attacks Ricardo, throwing him against the wall. He falls unconscious, but Beatriz refuses to stop. She approaches Miguel, ignoring the danger. She grabs his hands and looks into his eyes, trying to reach his soul. "Miguel, I love you," she says with all her strength. "Remember our love. Remember everything we went through together. You are the most important person in my life. Please don't give yourself up." Beatriz's words seem to have an effect on Miguel. His eyes light up with a flash of recognition. He shakes Beatriz's hands and whispers, "Beatriz." The entity screams in anger and tries to regain control of Miguel, but he resists. He begins to fight against the evil influence using his own willpower. The scene ends with Miguel and Beatriz holding hands, facing the entity with courage and determination. The reversal ritual is underway, but the outcome is uncertain.